This is the only man in the world who cannot be knocked out. 20,000 people are screaming. He has never lost. In 15 fights, he has never even bled, never shown a single mark. And in about 90 seconds, one low kick to the back of his ankle is going to end everything he built. To understand why a man who feels nothing finally felt pain, you have to go back about 3,000 years. Because the man on his knee was not born in this century. He had done all of this once before, in another age, under another name. He was Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived. The last thing Achilles remembered was the arrow. Paris's arrow, guided by a god, finding the one place on his body that could be hurt, the back of his heel. Then pain, then darkness, and then noise. He woke face down on hot stone, in a city of glass towers and metal carriages that moved without horses. People stared into glowing tablets and stepped around the man on the ground as if he were already a ghost. He looked at his hands, young, smooth, not the hardened, war-worn hands of the man who killed Hector beneath the walls of Troy. His mother had been a sea goddess. When he was a child, she carried him down to the river Styx, the black water that runs between the living and the dead, and dipped him in so that no blade could ever cut him. But she held him by the heel, and the water never touched it. That was the bargain. Unkillable everywhere, except one finger width of skin. Achilles thought that bargain ended with the arrow. He was wrong. It had simply followed him here. He wandered until a window stopped him. Behind the glass, a screen. And on the screen, two men in a cage, fighting. No spears, no shields, no gods watching from a hill. Just fists, and a crowd roaring the way armies once roared for him. They had forgotten the war he died in, but they had not forgotten this, the hunger to watch one man break another. He felt it wake up in his chest like an old friend. 2 weeks passed. He had been a prince of Phthia, feared by whole nations, and now he slept under a bridge and ate what the city threw away. He learned the small magics of this world. How to make the glowing tablet obey. How to take food from a machine. And on a cracked phone someone had left behind, he saw it. The most famous fighter alive, sitting at the head of a feast. Meat he had no name for. Cups of gold. And around him, the part Achilles truly recognized, a crowd that worshipped. People begging just to stand near him. Men clearing his path. This was not new to him. He had seen it in Troy when warriors came back from the field. The finest meat went to the strongest arm. The people did not bow to gold. They bowed to whoever could protect them or destroy them. There was a prophecy spoken over Achilles before he ever lifted a sword. He could live a long, quiet life and be forgotten, or die young in battle and be remembered for as long as men told stories. He chose to be remembered. He had always chosen the same thing, so he looked at these unmarked hands and he decided, if this world feeds and worships its fighters, then he would fight. He had never lost. He would not start now. He walked into a fighting hall they called a gym. The man at the door told him it was not a shelter and asked if he had money. He said he had something worth more. He could fight. The man laughed, but an old coach heard him. Gray, scarred, a fighter himself once. He had heard 1,000 boys claim they could fight. He told the stranger to get in the ring and show him. The coach asked his name. Achilles could not give his real one. It belonged to a dead man in an old story, so he told the coach to call him Alex. Simple, forgettable. Nothing like the name they once screamed across a battlefield. They put a real fighter across from him. 5 years of training. He hit Alex clean. The jaw, the temple, the throat, the places that put men to sleep. Alex did not block. He did not move his head. He let the river Styx do what it has always done. The fighter's knuckles broke against him like waves on a cliff. He threw everything he had until his arms hung dead at his sides. Then Alex took him by the collar, lifted him off the ground with one hand, and set him down on the other side of the ring. The room went silent. The old coach stared like he had seen something that should not exist. He asked who this kid was. Alex told him, just a kid who needs money. The coach did not believe a word of it, but he knew what he had found. He said 2 words. Sign him. Here's the thing they could never understand about how Achilles fought. He was not fast. He was not skilled. He did not throw beautiful combinations. He simply walked forward, slowly, like weather. They punched him, and he took it. They kicked him, and he took it. They tried to drag him to the ground, and he stood back up with them attached to him. There is no defending against a man who has nothing to defend. The only question in every fight was how long until he was close enough to put his hands on you. His first fight lasted 12 seconds. His second, a little less. By his fifth, no one had ever taken him past the first round, and the crowd noticed something stranger than the winds. He never got hurt. No cuts, no bruises, no swelling. Fight after fight, he walked out exactly as he walked in. They slowed the footage down and found nothing, not a mark. The comments wrote themselves. Is he even human? This man has plot armor in real life. This guy is literally immortal. And one night, on live broadcast, a commentator said the word that would stick to him forever. He told the world, "You cannot hurt this man. You cannot drop him. You cannot stop him. He is the immortal." They had no idea how close to the truth they were. And this world rewarded him exactly as the old one had. A car faster than any chariot that needed no horses. A machine that carried him above the clouds. And he had stood on Olympus, and still, this was better. A home in the sky over the ocean. Gold around his neck, the way kings once wore it. In Troy, he fought for honor, for a war he never believed in. Here, he fought for gold, and pleasure, and the roar of the crowd. And he would admit something he never told anyone. He preferred it. 15 fights. 15 wins. Undefeated. The biggest draw the sport had ever sold. And then a stranger online noticed the one thing he had been hiding even from himself. He had watched every fight frame by frame. He wrote that the immortal took clean shots to the head and the body and felt nothing, but that there was exactly one moment in every single fight where he flinched. Always the same place, the back of his left ankle. A low kick to that one spot, and for a split second, the immortal blinked. Then it was gone. And then he asked the question that made Achilles' blood run cold. What if this man is the actual Achilles from the myth, because the only weakness Achilles ever had was the back of his heel? The post spread like fire. 50,000 people, a famous fight podcast, laughed about it for an hour. They did not know that there is a cord of muscle that runs down the back of every human ankle, and that for 3,000 years doctors have called it the Achilles tendon, named after him, after the one wound that killed him. Achilles said nothing, but for the first time in his new life, he was afraid. The biggest fight in the sport's history. The Immortal, against a cold, technical striker they called the Surgeon. A man who won not with power but with precision, with the patience to throw the same strike 100 times until something gave. And he had read the theory. He had studied the footage. He knew about the ankle. Backstage, the old coach begged him to pull out. He said this one was different, that he had seen the way the surgeon looked at his legs. Achilles told him he had faced the greatest warriors the world had ever made, and he had never once run from a fight, and he would not start now. He almost said his real name. The coach saw the fear in his eyes anyway. The same fear that has killed better men than this? The first round was his, the way they all were. He walked forward, he took everything, but the surgeon was not trying to win the round. Every time he kicked, it landed in the same place, the back of the left ankle, testing, measuring. Patient as a tide. In the second round, his leg buckled, just once, just for a heartbeat, but the surgeon saw it, and for the first time in his career, across 15 fights, across 2 worlds, Achilles took a step backward. 20,000 people went quiet because they had never seen him give a single inch. And then, in the third round, the surgeon threw the kick he had been doting toward all night. The angle perfect. The timing perfect. It landed flush on the back of the left ankle, on the cord that carries his name, and Achilles felt something he had not felt since a beach outside Troy. Real pain. Not the dull rain he had been swallowing for 2 years. The bright, specific pain of the one place he can be hurt. His leg gave out. He dropped to one knee. 20,000 people, silent. They had never seen him kneel. He never had, not in 15 fights, not in this entire life. And in that silence, he was back on the sand, an arrow in his heel, the darkness coming. He thought he had left that body behind. He thought this one was different. But the curse had crossed 3,000 years to find him again. The surgeon did not hesitate. He kicked the same spot again and again until the leg would not answer, and Achilles went face first into the canvas. The referee waved it off. 15 wins, 1 loss. The first of his new life, and it found him in exactly the same place as the last. He was the greatest warrior who ever lived, and he lay on the ground, beaten by a man with no sword, no armor, and no god behind him. Just a man patient enough to find the one spot he could never protect. They say you cannot escape your fate. Achilles tried. If you want to know what happens when the immortal learns to protect the one thing that can kill him, subscribe and live the rest firsthand.